All right, Lions fans, welcome to this week's episode of Lyons Den Weekly. I have six stories for you this week on what's going on around Lions Nation, and we will start with Kyle Allen being signed uh, to for the backup quarterback spot, or to at least compete for the backup quarterback spot. Let's check out this article and see what they're talking about. It says Detroit Lions add veteran quarterback Kyle Allen, what it means for Hendon Hooker. You see, it's a picture of him on Twitter/X. He agrees to terms. It says the Lions have a new backup quarterback, at least the makings of intriguing battle. The Lions agreed to a free agent contract with Kyle Allen. Let's scroll down a little bit to see what it says. Allen, 29, has played 7 NFL seasons for 5 different teams and spent last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He went 5-7 as a starter for the Panthers in 2019 and has started 6 games over the past 5 seasons for Washington and the Houston Texans. Last year, he appeared in 1 game and completed his only pass for 19 yards. So let's talk a little bit about Kyle Allen. Now, we know that Kyle Allen is a pretty solid backup quarterback, in my opinion. He's even did some things. I know when he was in Carolina, he played pretty well down there. But the big question with Kyle Allen coming in is, what does this mean for Hendon Hooker? The reason I bring Hendon Hooker up is because, number one, when we were getting ready to go into the playoffs, the Lions brought in Teddy Bridgewater, meaning that they were thinking that if it came down to it, Hendon Hooker would not be ready to step into the backup spot if Jared Goff got hurt, which he did in that game against the Commanders. So, did it really say something about Hendon Hooker, or did it say something more about the fact that the Lions wanted a reliable backup going into the playoffs? But now going into the off season, Teddy Bridgewater may or may not be coming back. They still have Jack Fromm on the roster, and now you bring in Kyle Allen. Now, a lot of us thought that Hendon Hooker would be the guy. He would come in and be the guy to back up Jared Goff, but that may not be the case. Maybe Hendon Hooker is just not cutting it. So, what's your thoughts on that, Lions fans? Do you think that this has more to do with Hendon Hooker than anything else, or do you think that the Lions front office and the coaching staff, they don't have faith in Hendon Hooker, or is this something that you believe that they're doing to come in and actually um start a little competition with Hendon Hooker? Sometimes how teams would do that. They would bring a guy in to kind of push the back up to kind of get him to where he need to be. Maybe that is what's going on here. All right, let's move on to our next story. Free agency has not been a boom for the Lions. Well, we didn't make any big splash picks. There's been little things here, little things there. If you saw Brad Holmes' press conference the other week, he did say that he wants to stick with the people that the people that he knows can play. He wants to stick with people that he knows the system and knows the culture, which is kind of seemed like what he's been doing. So here's another small move, if you will, that the Lions have made. The Lions have brought in Kenny Yeboah, or I should say Kenny Yeboah. I think that's how you pronounce his name. They signed him from the Jets. It says Kenny Yeboah joins Detroit Lions on 1-year contract as tight end depth. So we know that the Lions, something that we talked about, that the Lions do need depth at the tight end position behind Sam Laporta. I mean, we do have Brock right there, but I feel that the Lions need an absolute number 2 tight end. Now, I don't know if this guy is it, and I'm going to be very honest with you, Lions fans. I know his name, but I don't know his game. So any of you who do, please fill me in on it. Let me know what kind of tight end we're getting. Let's look at a little bit of what it says about him. Let's go down to where it says roles and competition. The acquisition position, Yeboah as a potential third option at tight end, which makes sense. With established talents already on the roster, he will enter a competitive environment. The Lions tight end unit is led by standout receiver who set a record for rookie receptions and a reliable backup who secured a 3-year offer previously. So right now, it looks like that they're looking for Kenny to come in and be tight end depth, which is what we expected, but not necessarily to be a number 2, but really to be more of a number 3 and to fill in on special teams. So what is your thoughts on him, Lions fans? Like I said, if any of you know this young man and you know what he can do, what he can bring to the table, let me know. If not, just let me know that you see that as just a depth pick and something that the Lions are doing to shore up the roster. All right, let's move on to our number 3 story. And this one was one of the big ones for the week. Levi Onwuzurike coming back. Sorry about that. My screen froze up on me. Levi Onwuzurike, let's get rid of these ads. It's coming back. Now, this to me was a big deal. This was one of the, when we did our show a month or so ago, and they had free agents that the Lions could bring back. He was one of the guys I had on the list. Him, Dan Skipper, Tim Patrick, and there was one more that I thought would be like a key. Derek Barnes would be a key return, and we brought back Levi Onwuzurike. Now, this is according to the Detroit Free Press. Levi Onwuzurike hopes to take another big step after returning to the Detroit Lions. It says it was the easiest of choices, offer him the path of least resistance. It said he decided to put the Lions and resign. He decided to stay with the Lions and resign despite the option of setting out on a new adventure with a different team. Down here, quote, it says, you know the defense, you know all the coaches, you're familiar, said the fifth-year veteran defensive tackle. It's going to be the same drive. All this starts flooding into your head. It just makes it so much smoother because you're familiar. And that does make sense. It will be an easy transition for him because he's not going anywhere. Like he said, he knows the coaching staff. There's not a lot changing. And he was a very good defensive tackle. So good that former Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn wanted to actually, bring him to New York. He said flat out, hey, if the Lions are not looking to, sign him, if the Lions are not looking to sign him, then I will. He wanted to bring him in New York, which makes a lot of sense. So, what's your thoughts on Levi Onwuzurike staying with the Lions and adding depth? And you have to remember something: Aleem McNeil is not going to, be ready until probably November-ish. That's me thinking that he's not going to be ready until about November. So Levi is going to literally have to put in a lot of work at the beginning of the season to fill in for Aleem McNeil, who is recovering from that ACL injury. All right, let's move on to our next story, which is one of my Lions favorites, Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick is coming back, and he is on board to be our number 3 receiver again. It says Tim Patrick, excuse me, was just happy to get back on the field with the Detroit Lions last fall after injuries robbed him of 2 seasons. Patrick played well enough in his return that the Lions didn't want to lose him in 2025, which makes a lot of sense. Listen, there are guys the Lions could have brought in. They could have tried to get Amari Cooper, come in to be the number 3 receiver. But as Brad Holmes has said, they want to stick with what they know. It says the Lions and Patrick agreed to a 1-year contract. The team announced that the contract is worth up to $4 million. A person familiar with the deal told the Free Press. Patrick finished 6th on the Lions with 33 catches for 394 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, listen, this move makes sense for a lot of reasons. And one of the reasons is that Tim Patrick is basically, in my opinion, honoring the Lions with resigning because he could have tried to go somewhere. He played well enough to be somebody's number 3, maybe even somebody's number 2. But I believe that Tim Patrick wanted to show his loyalty to the Lions for actually bringing him in, giving him a chance after he had been injured for the last 2 seasons, 23 and 22, where he was injured. So I like this move. I have no issue with it. Now, I still would like to see the Lions get a big young receiver in the draft, possibly. But right now, this is going to keep the well-oiled machine still going. Tim Patrick come back to the Lions. What's your thoughts on that, Lions fans? Are you okay with Tim Patrick coming back? Did you maybe want to see the Lions do something else? Or did you have something else, in store with them? Is there something that I'm missing? Is there someone that they could have signed that maybe you would have liked to see instead of him? All right, let's move on to our next story. And our next story is also a small-ish, if you will, free agent signing. It would be the Lions. Sorry, I didn't get my story. There it is. It would be the Lions bringing in Grant Stuard. Now, Grant Stuard was recently with the Indianapolis Colts, but now the Lions are bringing him in. And I think that this is, for my guy, Jalen Reeves-Maben. I think that that's what this is about right here. I think that this move is about the Lions bringing in a backup linebacker and bringing in someone who could start on special teams, which is what he did with the Colts. Let's kind of look in this story a little bit and see what it says. The Lions announced today that they have signed unrestricted free agent linebacker Grant Stuard. It says Stuard came to Detroit after 3 seasons with the Colts. He appeared in 17 games. He started 5 games in 2024. 37 total tackles. 23 of those were solo, 2 for a loss, and recorded 3 special teams tackles. So as I said, he is a special teams standout, which is really what the Lions lost when they let my guy Reeves Mavens go. They lost not only a backup depth linebacker pick, but they also lost a special teams player. This is where Grant is going to step in at. It said he was originally selected by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 7th round of the 21 draft out of Houston, where he spent his rookie year. It says in 66 games, Stuard posted 43 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 quarterback hit, and 1 forced fumble. So what we're getting here is a depth pick, guys. We're getting a solid guy who can come in and fill in where Reese Maben is. And I was trying to see if it said in here how old he is. Well, let me see. We can figure this out. If he was drafted in 21, so he's probably 25 or 26. So one of the pros with that is that you are getting a young guy to come in and like I said, replace Reeves Maben. And you are also, so you're getting for cheaper, excuse me, guys, you're getting for cheaper, and you get him as him being younger. So if I'm right and he's 25-ish around there, he's about 5 years or so younger than Reeves Maben. Even though I'm still not happy with that move, I wanted Reeves Maben to come back. But, we understand the business of the game. We understand the business of money, and we understand the business of youth. It's important to have that youth. And now I will move on to our last story, which is our biggest free agent signing, DJ Reed coming in. Right here, the Lions, excuse me, Detroit Lions signed DJ Reed, and DJ Reed said he's going to empty the tank in pursuit of a Super Bowl. Let's read a little bit of what this story says according to the Detroit News. It says, with a few scribbles of the pen, cornerback DJ Reed set himself on the path to earn more money over the next 3 years than he did during his first 7. Wednesday in Allen Park, he completed a life-changing series of signatures, becoming contractually tied to the Lions for $48 million. But every time his phone lights up, he's reminded that none of this was easy. So it kind of talks about his background a little bit. Let's see what DJ says. He said, it's just a humble reminder, like, you got bread now, but don't forget where you come from. Reed said of his phone background in his introduction press conference on Thursday. Keep that same mindset. That's how I approach every day. Reed, 28, was a 5th-round pick in 2018. He made 3 stops in the NFL, San Francisco, Seattle, and the New York Jets before finding himself in Detroit. So let's talk about DJ Reed a little bit. Now, him, I am familiar with. The pros with DJ Reed is that he is a good corner. He's a guy that's just going into his prime, so that's good. Now, in my opinion, he is going to come in as the number 2 corner, because I believe that the Lions are thinking that Tyrion Arnold has to step up in 2025 and be the number 1 corner. We took him in the first round in 2024. DJ Reed, even though he is replacing Carlton Davis, where Carlton Davis was the number 1 corner in 24, he's coming in to be the number 2, but also replace Carlton Davis. So that gives us a corner. I know the Lions like to generally keep 7 corners. So if I'm not mistaken, Lions fans, that gives us Arnold and Reed as your starters. You have a Mick Robertson, number 3. Who else is on the roster? So, and then you have Ennis Rakestraw. So that's 4 corners, right? Now, I don't know if they've re-signed Khalil Dorsey yet, but right now you have 4. So that means you still need 3 more corners. The reunion with Darius Slay is not going to happen because he signed with the Steelers, if I'm not mistaken. He signed a 1-year deal. And I have to check the remaining free agents out there to see if there's any veteran free agent out there that we can bring in to get another veteran on the roster. But Lions fans, what do you think about DJ Reader? Now, I didn't say this. One of the cons is that he's short. He's about the same height as a Mick Robinson, 5'9". Now, I generally like my corners taller. I generally like my corners at least 6 feet. but he is a very good corner. And as a Mick Robinson showed, when he filled in those last few games of the season as a short corner, that he could handle the load. So Lions fans, what do you think about these stories that we presented for you today? What do you think about this last one with DJ Reed? Do you think he will step in and be the solid corner that the Lions need? All right, Lions fans, that's about it for this week's episode of Lyons Den Weekly. If you haven't already over on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. We would appreciate it very much. If you look on the screen right there and under my name, you see our Twitter/X page. If you haven't already, go over there and give us a follow. And on the screen is our TikTok. As I generally say, my son does all the TikToking over there. If you haven't already, go over there and give us a follow as well. That's all we got for this one. Until next time.